トビデオ
I can't believe it's taking me this long to do a Christmas episode. It's not for lack of trying per se, but being a show that covers the Japanese animation of yesteryear, my options to talk about an anime that feels proper Christmassy are quite limited. I mean, of course Christmas exists in Japan and is celebrated with all its lights and commercialism and Kentucky Fried Chicken, so it's obvious that Christmas can be seen in anime. But Christmas in the anime world tends to exist mainly in individual episodes that are part of a larger series. I can't exactly examine those episodes unless I talk about the series as a whole, and to just do that to talk about one episode out of 26 doesn't seem doable to me. Anime that could conceivably be considered standalone Christmas anime are exceptionally rare. We have tons upon tons of Christmas movies in the States, but the amount of Christmas anime you could generously count on one hand. With such a limited selection of anime I could talk about this holiday season, I had to be careful in my selection process. And luckily for you and me, I found something that could work.
I made a promise that day, and now I'll send it to him. Darnica!
For those of you who just got here, I love the Tenchi franchise. For being the 90s cash cow that was the progenitor to every modern harem anime and trope that came afterwards, the Tenchi Muyo franchise is an anime franchise I always find myself returning to. It's got strong characters, great animation, and enough action within the plot to keep things interesting. To me, the Tenchi franchise is retro anime comfort food. And guess what? In 1997, Pioneer and AIC, still with the gravy train a-rollin', made a Tenchi Muyo feature-length Christmas movie, Tenchi Muyo Midsummer's Eve, or as is better known by its English title, Tenchi Muyo Daughter of Darkness. And yes, despite the fact that most of this anime takes place during the summer, it's a Christmas anime, because A, the plot both begins and ends at Christmas, 2, it's filled to the brim with Christmas imagery, and D, the celebration of Christmas figures a lot into the plot and themes of the movie. So considering that this film would be an entirely different film if you swapped Christmas with another holiday, that makes Tenchi Muyo Daughter of Darkness a Christmas movie. The same rules apply to Die Hard, Batman Returns, and LA Confidential. But I'm already getting ahead of myself here. For those of you who have no idea what Tenchi Muyo is, here's a quick summary. Tenchi Misaki is an ordinary high school student who lives in the countryside with his father and grandfather until certain events happen that cause Tenchi to become acquainted with a gaggle of alien girls who are constantly vying for his attention. These include Ryoko, an ungoverned space pirate, Ayeka, a prim and proper yet neurotic alien princess, Sasami, Ayeka's innocent and very helpful little sister, Washu, an egomaniacal mad scientist, Mihoshi, a dim-witted galaxy police officer, and, depending on the continuity, Kiyone, Mihoshi's long-suffering partner.
Lord Tenchi's wife, one of us girls. It might be me. I can just imagine being his bride.
Oh yeah, fat chance, Ayeka.
Could be me, when I'm all grown up. Huh? Wow, it could be me too.
It's kind of important to know all of that because the essence of Daughter of Darkness's plot is that it appears to be adding yet another mysterious alien girl to the core cast. Only this time, she comes with a very unexpected twist.
Oh. Daddy?
The girl, named Mayuka, claims to be the daughter of Tenchi, and while this predictably leads to the kinds of shenanigans you would expect,
I've had it! I am not going to put up with this, Miss Innocent. I know what you're doing. Trying to trick Tenchi, but it's not gonna work.
You're nuts!
eventually characters do decide that they need to figure out where did Mayuka come from, who was her mother, and considering that she has the same powers as him, whether or not she's a threat against Tenchi. Unfortunately, before I even really get into the anime proper, I have to do something I successfully avoided having to do in my last Tenchi video, but now I have no choice to do it with this particular anime. I have to talk about the continuity of Tenchi Muyo. Now, aside from being an anime Christmas film, Daughter of Darkness is also best known for being kind of in a weird place with the Tenchi franchise. In Tenchi's lengthy, multifaceted continuity, Daughter of Darkness seemingly lies on its own little island, existing as this mixture of continuities. The OVA continuity with its focus on Tenchi's Jiraiyan heritage and superpowers, plus that gigantic hot springs they have in their backyard, and the universe continuity with the presence of KYOTO. Some fans, and that includes Funimation, have labeled the world of Daughter of Darkness as its own continuity, but that's not entirely correct. The story goes that the very first Tenchi OVA series was the brainchild of original creator and character designer Masaki Kajishima and director Hiroki Hayashi, but there was a third person helping those two put their rough drafts into complete stories, screenwriter Naoko Hasegawa. Once production on the initially 6-episode OVA series wrapped in 1993, the instantaneous and unexpected popularity caused Kajishima and Hayashi to split their partnership. This allowed Hasegawa to go in her own direction as she immediately began to start writing a light novel series for Tenchi Muyo. This event inadvertently led to the creation of the first alternate continuity in the Tenchi series, a continuity that fans have referred to as the Hasegawa universe. Out of all the continuities, the Hasegawa universe is the one that's the least examined, at least in the Western fandom. And this is mostly due to the fact that nearly all of it is based off a 13-volume series of light novels, which, despite being immensely popular, have yet to see any official translations. What we do know is that Hasegawa tried to adhere to a lot of the original concepts that Hayashi and Kajishima hashed out with her, but she soon started putting her own spin on Tenchi and added concepts of her own that would eventually make it to other continuities. Concepts such as the fleshing out of Tenchi's mother, and the introduction of Hasegawa's original character, KYOTO. That's right, KYOTO was a character before Tenchi Universe was even a thing. Hasegawa's novels being produced during Tenchi Muyo's anime blitz of the mid-90s made an anime based on at least one of them kind of a no-brainer, so it was decided after the success of Tenchi Muyo in Love that the next Tenchi film would be an adaptation of the then most recent Hasegawa novel. And on August 7th, 1997, just in time for the holidays, Daughter of Darkness was released into theaters. And now that I've successfully scared everyone off with all this talk about continuity, we can now safely talk about the film itself. What I love about Daughter of Darkness the most is its animation. This has a lot of what I liked about Tenchi Muyo and Love's animation, big budget allowing for rich visuals. But in some ways, it feels like they've really improved in some areas. For instance, the coloring definitely feels richer. It all has just enough intensity to make the world feel more alive. The green leaves in the trees look greener, the blue moon reflecting off the water looks bluer, and each of the girls' hair looks mauver, turquoiser, and sea greener. There's also the lighting. Not only is the shading used well to emphasize dramatic scenes, but the artists also really take into account the reflection of sunlight in the daytime scenes. It really brings out the feeling of a hot summer's day in this unquestionably Christmas anime. And then there's the animation, which once again sees the hardworking folks at AIC bring their A game. When the budget hits, you know right away because the character animation and fight choreography moves seamlessly and silky smooth, which is made even more remarkable by how most of these scenes are super complex and often require the team having to keep track of many moving parts and making sure they all work in concert. If I did have one minor complaint about the animation, it would be that out of all the Tenchi movies, this one feels the least filmic. From a director's standpoint, Daughter of Darkness feels a lot safer. It's not really using a lot of creative boarding or cinematography to really sell that this is an event movie. Not to say that there aren't any well-blocked scenes, because there definitely is, but there are just so many scenes that are shot in a way that wouldn't feel entirely out of the ordinary from your average anime TV show. My point being that this Tenchi Christmas movie doesn't feel like a Tenchi Christmas movie. It feels more like an hour-long TV special, if anything. But like I said, that's a minor complaint, and it does not in any way take away from the visually stunning animation of Daughter of Darkness. No, that honor goes to the story. I think if there's anything else Daughter of Darkness is known for among the Tenchi fandom, is it being the least well received of the Tenchi films. I mean, even people who like this movie generally agree that it's the weakest of the lot. Like, completely unanimous decision. And I think every criticism of Daughter of Darkness can be traced back to a single root problem: its short length. Daughter of Darkness is exactly 1 hour and 1 minute long, counting in credits. And when you take in everything the story has to offer, its plot, its characters, its source of conflict, its emotional journey, you know right away that this should not be an hour long. The whole structure of this anime feels compressed. However, the events played out in the original novel, they are just given zero room to breathe here. A new girl being inserted into the lives of Tenchi and the girls, with the added twist that she claims to be Tenchi's daughter despite being his age, is a concept that should be handled with the utmost care. And to the anime's credit, it does try that for the first third of the anime. Once Mayuka gets dropped in their laps, Tenchi kinda has a realistic reaction to this revelation, with his first instinct being to try to get away from her just so he can have some alone time and parse this newfound information. A task made all the difficult by Mayuka's daughterly affections.
You shouldn't leave me behind like that, Daddy. It's so mean not want to be here.
I'm taking a bath here, Mayuka!
Good. I'll take one with you. You're turning red, Daddy.
And there's actually some good drama being played between Mayuka and Ryoko. Sure, it obviously is based on jealousy,
Usurper!
but Ryoko is the one to discover that Mayuka has similar godlike powers to Tenchi. In a way, Ryoko is justified for not immediately trusting Mayuka because they don't know where she came from, and the fact that she has Tenchi's power levels means that she poses a credible threat, whether she knows it or not. But once Tenchi starts warming up to Mayuka, Ryoko begins questioning whether or not Mayuka is still a threat to Tenchi, or if she herself is having crazy levels of jealousy.
I'm frightened for you. If
I ever what? You worry too much. I never knew you were such a worrier, huh? Everything's gonna be fine, Ryoko, you'll see.
But in order for this subplot to work, the rest of the girls need to accept Mayuka with open arms almost immediately, which they do. I mean, I could see Sasami and Mahoshi immediately rolling out the welcome mat for this perfect stranger, but Kiyone?
Get your butt out of bed!
Yeah, she would need some more time. Strangely enough, the main character who ends up being a complete non-factor in this plot is Ayeka. Her entire character is that of Ryoko's most passionate rival for Tenchi's affections, being just as much of an aggressive suitor as Ryoko and just as prone to jealous rage as Ryoko. And she doesn't appear to really do all that much with Mayuka. Aside from teaming up with Ryoko to prevent her from seeing Tenchi, any conflict Ayeka could possibly have with Mayuka is completely absent. The best we get out of Ayeka in this anime is an emotional heart-to-heart that she has with Ryoko over Tenchi choosing someone that isn't her.
I always thought if ever Tenchi fell in love with someone else, I'd just go back home, back to my planet and my palace. And I'd never say a word about it. Isn't it strange that I'm telling you all this, Ryoko?
It's a great scene, but because it falls victim to the scourge of hour-long runtimes, it feels like it's already over just when it starts. And considering how much of the conflict revolves around characters trying to figure out where Mayuka came from, they don't really bother trying to build that mystery. In the cold open, it shows right from the get-go where Mayuka came from. She was the creation of the main antagonist Yuzuha, who forged Mayuka by taking Tenchi's DNA and splicing it with her own. But even after showing us the answer to the mystery Columbo style, it still attempts to treat the whole thing like it is a mystery for the next half hour, with Washu doing research and periodically popping in to slowly catch everyone else up on the information the audience already knows. Why would they do this? Well, the answer is that Daughter of Darkness is less about the story and more about the characters. How exactly do these new characters of Mayuka and Yuzuha interact with the cast of Tenchi and vice versa? And as it turns out, it kind of fails in both of these regards because, once again, hour-long runtime. First, there's Yuzuha. Her main motivation to create Mayuka is because she has past history with Tenchi's grandpa when he was the Jiraiyan Prince Yosho, and desires to throw a wrench in that idyllic Masaki family portrait once she sees how good of a Christmas celebration they're having. Hey, better Grinch movie than the Illumination one.
I must stop Christmas from coming. But how?
Also because she's incredibly bored and wants to see what happens when she inserts her own OC into the canon. Which is why for the first half, Yuzuha mostly acts as a barely disguised audience avatar.
I'm trying to protect you since you're so clueless when it comes to women. Tenchi!
Stop it!
There, now we're getting some action. That's more like it.
But as a character, Yuzuha doesn't feel fully developed. I mean, there are definitely some consistencies to her character, like how she's incredibly childish and prone to throwing temper tantrums whenever the plot isn't going her way.
Ah, you big fool, spoiling things just when it's getting good! Ugh!
But I don't think the writers ever fully figured out if Yuzuha is supposed to be sympathetic or unsympathetic. When we're introduced to her in the cold open, it does seem like they are going for a more sympathetic angle with her. All she wants to do is give the prince a gift, but is soon set upon by the royal guards who savagely beat her, reveal her true form, and call her a wretched creature, scaring her off in tears.
Depart, you wicked creature!
You get the feeling that all Yuzuha wants is to be loved, and her trying to destroy the close-knit nature of Tenchi's found family is just an act of jealousy, knowing that Yosho has what she can never attain. However, Daughter of Darkness also wants Yuzuha to be this truly vile monster. Before she even meets Yosho, she is seen turning innocent children into rubies and devouring them, children who just happen to be friends of Yosho.
Not a bad haul. Delicious. Hey, have you seen my friends around here? There were 3 of them. I told them I'd meet them here, but I couldn't sneak out of the palace in time.
And she's not just your average space demon that Tenchi and the gang get to fight every Thursday. Yuzuha's official title is the Devourer of Souls and the spirit of the Jiraiyan Tree of Darkness. In other words, Jiraiya's answer to Satan. So the Royal Guard probably might even be underreacting in that situation in the beginning, especially considering that just a few minutes ago, Yuzuha was talking to Yosho about wanting to play with him forever, really making the purity of such a request very questionable.
We can play with it together, just you and me, in my room.
Huh?
I have things that are even more fun than this. Lots more fun.
Really?
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Okay.
Who are you?
An angel.
And in the climax, she really revels in being this completely evil imp, laughing uproariously and clicking her heels in glee as she does things like kidnap Sasami, transforming Mayuka into a mindless beast against her will, and trying to mentally break Tenchi and Ryoko by killing Mayuka in front of them.
Did you enjoy playing with that girl's life? Did you?
She was just a clone, an experiment I did when I was bored.
But she make a sad face when no love, so boo-hoo. But it's not like making someone both a monster while retaining audience sympathy isn't possible. Look at Batman Returns. The Penguin is a villain who makes no apologies that he's a monstrous bile-spewing freak who wants to kill children.
I am not a human being! I am an animal! Cold-blooded!
And yet his childhood abandonment and his aborted attempts to rejoin society makes it hard not to sympathize with him. And when he dies at the end of the film, you see what he really is. A poor, pitiful creature.
But first, a cold drink of ice water.
But Batman Returns is a 2-hour movie. Daughter of Darkness has half that runtime, and it's not really enough to fully develop Yuzuha into this sympathetic monster. So when her final moments are of her tragically accepting her fate, it doesn't land all the way because her character was never fully fleshed out.
You and grandfather.
Imagine the darkness in love with the light.
But Yuzuha is markedly more of an interesting character than the other brand new character that Daughter of Darkness story revolves around. Let's talk about Mayuka. Now, I'm not going to pretend that the concept of Mayuka was flawed from the beginning. The idea of a girl your age coming out of nowhere and claiming to be your daughter is an interesting one, and in the context of Tenchi Muyo, where familial relationships are the one thing more convoluted than the franchise continuity, kind of expected. But we also can't discount the producers not wanting to pass up an opportunity to put a girl in Tenchi's harem who will not stop calling him daddy.
Daddy, 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 Daddy. I love you so much, Daddy.
Now you've got to stop that talk.
Sword Art Online, eat your heart out. But I think my big problem with Mayuka is that it feels like the writers are going to extremes to make sure the audience really loves her. For one thing, she really plays into a lot of the most stereotypical of moe tropes. A totally precious ingenue who just wants to spread love and affection everywhere she goes, and her main character goal is that she wants to celebrate Christmas with the family.
Wish I was a part of it too. You do?
You can if you wish to. You can join our family. You'll be one of us. And we always celebrate Christmas together.
Yeah! Yippee! That's great!
Yeah, I'm all for it.
But we already kind of have the precious little girl character in Sasami. How do you differentiate the two? Easy. Instead of making her mature for her age like Sasami, you make Mayuka a toddler in a 16-year-old's body. She is infantilized to the point where she has no concept of social skills, modesty, or boundaries. She even needs help getting dressed. It's like if Luck Besson got his hands on a Tenchi anime. And there's really no depth to her character. The only times where she isn't a complete babe in the woods is when she's being directly controlled by Yuzuha and thus not herself. And it ends up causing Mayuka to not be a character defined by her actions and personality, but by how people treat her. And nearly every character just adores her to death. The whole point of Daughter of Darkness is that Mayuka is the greatest and most cutest girl in the whole wide universe and everyone's gotta love her. That's why nearly every character finds themselves immediately attached to her, and those who aren't have to take a character journey to see why she's actually super great. And whenever Mayuka's not on screen, all the characters need to be like, "Where's Mayuka?"
I sure hope that Mayuka is alright. You sure she was okay when you left her, Ryoko?
Yes? How many times are you going to ask me this, Tenchi?
Grandfather's out searching for her. If anyone can find her, he will.
Let's face it, Mayuka is less a character and more of an emotional story tool for the other, more developed characters to react to. That's why the big emotional climax of the movie is her breaking free of Yuzuha's control and immediately getting killed to provoke a reaction from Tenchi and Ryoko.
Sasami, it's you. We'll celebrate Christmas together, you and me, and Daddy, and all the ones that I love.
To me, the moment just feels incredibly contrived. Mayuka, at her core, is this flawless innocent who only desires to celebrate Christmas with the rest of the Misaki family. Of course, when she breaks free of her conditioning, it means she's gonna die afterwards to wring every last drop of tears from the rest of the cast. Tenchi is able to retrieve the crystal that holds Mayuka's soul, and everyone agrees that Washu should be able to revive her. And they do so, with Mayuka being resurrected as an infant just in time to celebrate Christmas. Wait a minute. Infant? Christmas? No, we're not going there. Stop it. Daughter of Darkness is a film I have very, very mixed feelings on. Out of all the Tenchi films, it is still the best looking. Some of the smaller moments of character drama actually managed to hit, and this is still the cast of Tenchi we know and love, and it's still great to see more of them. Plus, I think it's a pretty serviceable Christmas film, all things considered, with the main argument that Tenchi's harem is more than just a harem, but a family. Please don't read too much into that last statement, but a lot of what the film is selling itself on could have been done better. The runtime causes the story structure to feel haphazard and rushed, and the approach to how they handle their new characters and the story they inhabit feel overly simplistic and half-baked as a result, causing none of the big emotional moments the story is trying to hit to fully land. With the big flaws outweighing the good parts and the film being part of a continuity that's mostly unknown outside of Japan, Daughter of Darkness can only be recommended to Tenchi completionists. You can watch it if you so desire, but just be sure to know that you aren't missing anything if you choose not to add this to your holiday viewing.